Good evening. We will start in the next 1 or 2 minutes. Just waiting for people to join in. Hello and welcome to this evening session of Tieke Community. We are very glad that you could all join us here for this very special relay on the Children's Day. We are delighted to have two distinguished guests among us, very good friends, and also people who have really proved to be successful in their lives after extraordinary journey of failure, learning, and staying on course with what they want to do with their life. I'm so glad that I'm their friend, and I'm thankful to both of them, Param and Manoj, for joining us and spending a few minutes with us to talk about their journey. To all the young friends who are joining on this live session from various places, a very warm welcome. We are starting season 2 of our live online webinars. Last year, we were doing a similar set of webinars during the same times, and we had hundreds of students from various schools, to an extent of about 175 schools joining these sessions and also getting benefited out of these sessions. And we were very glad that we could also reach out to your respective school, your school leaders, and also engage with them to see how together we can build the character of each one of you. I'm so happy to also thank my team at Tieke for putting up this and doing all the hard work to reach out to various schools and try and see how we can connect maximum students here. And it's been a very exciting journey as far as this live webinars are concerned. We have two guests here, dear friends. To start with, Parameswaran. He's called fondly as Param. Param defines himself as an entrepreneur, a YouTuber, and also a psychologist and author. Param was also my very first boss in my previous company, where we had the good fortune of working together. I could learn a lot from him. He's a very nice human being. And Param started off in the year 2000 as an entry-level manager in a company called Disnet, and then moved on to various telecom companies like Airtel, NTS, and went on to start his own business. The remarkable story was when he started his first business and continued on starting many more businesses because things did not turn out fine the way he wanted it. And finally, he landed up in a very wonderful initiative called Alayam Selvir, a YouTube channel where presently he has got about 1.4 million followers subscribed to the channel and being their customers as well. It's a very remarkable feat after so much of failures that they faced in each of their earlier ventures. And his company, Mapa Solutions, has completed 11 years as of November 11th. Param is here to share his story. I do have another good friend who is in his very early mornings in USA. Manoj and I studied together. We were in school together, like many of you. We were all school friends. Me and him were close buddies in school. We have done a lot of things together. We have studied together. More than that, we have played together than the time that we studied together. Manoj went on to do his engineering from PSG. Then he was in Infosys. He completed his MBA from the US, from a wonderful university called Wake Forest University, and then moved on to various companies in the US as to start with a director of an education company called School Improvement Network. Then he moved on to another company where he became the CEO of the company eventually, which is called Feel Brilliant. Manoj also co-founded a venture called edify.ai. He is also an advisor for Tieke since 2017. And I'm very glad that he could be in here, even though it is very early in the morning for him. He could spend some time to share his story as well. I'll go first to Param to start with. Param, you can take about 6 minutes,
Okay.
like Twitter, and
Okay.
brief us about your life story.
Sure. Thanks, Aras, and happy evening, friends. To brief about my life story, as Aris said, we have failed miserably in a lot of ventures. That's the truth. The company which we are in right now is our 26th venture in the last 8 years. But we had the grit not to give up. So I'll start with my own story, how I grew up, so that it might be useful for you guys. During till my 10th standard, starting from 5th standard to 10th standard, I was always a school topper. In fact, on my 10th standard, I was a state rank holder in one of the subjects. So you guys know, when you get a state rank holder, people will always celebrate you. When you walk into the corridor, also people will say, hey, he's the guy who got state rank. So you'll be like pampered inside the school, right? So after 10th, 11th and 12th, like you'll be treated like a hero. Even on 12th, my score was, I was a district rank holder in most of the subjects, and physics is where I actually failed. It was 156 out of 200 in my physics. So people used to say, I'll either take up medicine MBBS seat, or I'll go to an IIT. Everybody used to motivate me, and that was my first failure. 12th standard physics, I got only 156. So whoever was like celebrating me started giving me advice, stating what I did wrong, and everybody started proving how I should grow up in life or go up in life. So that time there was something called as improvement. You can take the test again. So I spent one more year. But during that 1 year, this is the first failure I faced, right? So the fear of failure grew in me very much. So the second time when I took this physics test, I scored only 154. I in fact scored 2 marks lesser. So I actually gave up on myself. So I got into a government college in Coimbatore, CIT. First 3 years were like, I actually gave up on me. Physics mark got into a trouble, and I got into a college which I didn't like. So I was like, I totally gave up on me. And on the third year, the total subjects in engineering college is 40. 40 plus you'll have all sems put together. I had 23 Harrier papers when I completed my third year. So you'll know how shambles I were in. So I had an aha moment. The same like how Harris is conducting a Zoom meeting today. We had a debate session inside our college because I had no other job to do. One of my friend pulled me inside. So I went inside. I still remember the professor name. His name was Duraisamy. He was our HOD. He was talking about how people can't give up in life. So he was explaining a story about, or an incident about Thomas Alva Edison. I'll try to narrate it very shortly because we have very less time. Thomas Alva Edison tried to invent batteries. You know that, right? As students, he is the one who tried to invent batteries during his time, and he failed miserably. People used to say 1,000 times, 2,000 times, 10,000 times he failed. Normally, without a battery, you think about our lives today without battery, because when a current flows in directly, if there is no current, you will not have current. Today, there will be no storage. The storage he was trying to invent. When a friend came to him and asked, you have already failed 10,000 times, how are you feeling now? He said, failure, this is not failure. I have found 10,000 ways of how not to do a battery, how I shouldn't be doing a battery. So I have got 10,000 ways now. This is how he reacted. And the second incident happened in Edison's life was, during those times, he doesn't have a bigger facility, right? He will have a thatched roof where he was doing his experiments, and everything is manual. He used to write it manual. So not today we have cloud storage, Excel systems, tabs we have. Those times it is all manual, right? All his experiments, all his measurements, he used to keep record as manuals. Years of his work have been kept in that thatched roof, and this got into fire. The whole thing was burned down. And when it was burning down, Edison was sitting nearby. He couldn't do anything. He was sitting and watching the fire go up in flames. All his work were going up in flames. He was sitting and watching. And at that time, a son came to him and asked, he was patting on his back and said, Dad, I know how you feel now. Edison slowly turned back and said, I'm not feeling anything, son. Nothing I'm feeling, because I'm just watching. My mistakes are burnt away. All these years, I couldn't find that battery, and all my mistakes haven't burnt away. This is the positive emotion which I took it from that story. That is my aha moment. From that day, I couldn't sleep that night. And when I went back to my dormitory, my hostel room, I couldn't sleep that night. I said, I can't have this fear of loss. So that is when I came up with a desire for gain, desire for success. So that third year, when I completed, fourth year, seventh sem, I cleared almost 23 papers in one shot. All my arrears I cleared, and I also got into placement in a company called Deshna DSL Limited. That's how the whole story came up. So that is my first step towards treating a failure, because today you can't be afraid of a failure. When you're afraid of a failure, you can never become a good student. When you're afraid of a failure, you can never become a sports person. When you're afraid of a failure, you can never become an entrepreneur. When you're afraid of a failure, you can never become a salesperson, because you have to fail in calls. You have to do so many calls and failing. Only then you can become a better salesperson. Even as kids today, when there is an opportunity for you to climb up the stage and speak something, you can't be afraid of that failure. You have to take the grit, stand up the stage and speak your gut out. Then you'll become a public speaker. When there is a chance for you to stand up to a people leader or a monitor in the class, when your teacher asks who is interested, raise your hands. Most of the classes, they'll have only few kids who will raise their hand, because others have fear of failure. You have to overcome this fear of failure. You can't be afraid of failures. If you can develop this habit, one habit, if you are not going to be afraid of failure, if this one habit, atomic habit, if you're going to develop over a period of time, 10 years, 12 years later, you'll have a bigger edge than anybody else in the society. And today, failure, people think failure is bad. No, it is not bad, because the failure is two kinds of failure. One is you set yourself some benchmark and you fail. That is your self failure, where you again get up, you do your own stuff. But today, what happens is when you fail, we all think about what the society will think. So that is second kind of failure, which you shouldn't put your mind to. You should develop a positive emotion where anything happens, any failure happens, that's an event. That's not you. When a failure happens to you, you stand up on a stage on a memory competition, you're speaking something out and you failed. It is that competition that you have failed. It is not you. It's an event. Any failure that's happening in your life is an event. If you can treat this way, I think you can come up in life. And I wish everybody listening to this have very happy and peaceful growth, because this is the time you should be very happy during your school days. But at the same time, you should be developing some atomic habits which can give you very peaceful progress in life. So do not bother about anybody. Have acceptance of whatever is happening to you, but at the same time, make some good choices, make some good friends, have fun in life. I think Alice, I completed within your timeline. Anything, you can keep the floor open.
Right. Param, before I go to Manoj, I have about 3 questions for you. Then at the end of the session, we'll also ask students to raise if there are any questions from their end. Okay. You were talking about your success initially. Yeah, I mean, during your school days, you were a star. Even it was like that. When I was with Manoj, I used to be studying really well. Okay. Then post that, I moved into a boarding school. My studies went down.
Yeah.
But my bandwidth to fail, my openness to accept challenges and failure improved. There is one sort of changeover. I mean, like when you are facing success constantly, you move to failure and get used to failure and start improving. On the transition, how did you handle, Param, from success, constant success to failures?
I think it has something to do with the individual grit. For example, somebody does something to you and you don't accept it. It's a negative emotion, right? You get hurt. Right. You get hurt. But if you do the same emotion into positive, you forgive them. That's forgiveness, right? At the same time, if somebody in your classroom takes first in class and is topping the class, you accept it, he becomes an inspiration. If you don't accept it, it becomes jealousy. right?
Right.
And the same way, when you're going into an unknown area of, say, for example, you go into rafting, you accept it, it becomes an adventure. But you don't
Right.
accept it, it becomes a fear. So when you
Right.
put yourself into a lot of positive emotions into your mind and body, I think
Right.
this is the easy way to overcome it. You have to first accept, make some choices for whatever has happened, because you can't change the
Right.
consequence, right? When something is
Right.
happening, there is a consequence. You can't
Right.
change it. But the
Right.
choices which you are going to make, you can definitely
Right.
make good choices. Those
Right.
choices can be positive. I think that's the
Right.
learning.
Right. So, and you were also talking about how you look at failure as one event and not something that is
Correct.
your life. Yeah, I mean,
Correct.
the other point that you were also highlighting is a very important concept. I mean, like as students, everybody should know this, which is this atomic habits. I mean, like
Correct.
if you see in the world today, especially in the corporate world, the leadership, பத்தி பேசும்போது, everybody talks about this atomic habit. Can you just tell us how
Maybe
you
we
follow
will deviate from
that?
failure, but still we will talk about this.
Right. Yeah.
See, atomic habit is something, a very small effort which you take daily on a consistent basis. For
Right.
example, you are not doing very well in studies. You
Right.
can just develop a habit by getting up early, or just
Right.
folding your bed sheets after you get up from the bed. It's a very
Right.
simple habit, right? Yeah,
Right.
change which you make it on your other side of life, and you make
Right.
it consistently, will
Right.
also give improvements in the second phase of your life. For
Right.
example, if you want to build your body, or you want to be
Right.
physically active, you can decide today saying, I'll do only 5 minutes of push-ups every day. Okay.
Right.
Next 6 months
Right.
to 1 year, you may not have any bigger difference compared to your peers or your friends. But
Right.
after few years, the same 5 minutes, if you keep it very consistent, the amount of effort you have accumulated over the years will give you
Right.
phenomenal results. That's
Right.
atomic habit. For example, for you guys, if you start believing on this and start studying only 5 pages a day.
Right.
For example, today you
Right.
decide on
Right.
14th of November, I am going to read 5 pages a day. And
Right.
next 3 years, if you can continuously keep reading only 5 pages a day,
Right.
on your third or fourth year, you'll be the topper of the school.
Right.
You can take it for granted this will happen, because that is how atomic habits work. But you have to be consistent. Rain or shine, that 5 minutes you have to give it to your studies. I'm just saying 5 minutes. You can decide on the timeline, but you have to be very consistent. When you are very consistent, that can give you phenomenal results.
Right. And the consistency is the most important thing. I mean, not even missing one day.
Correct.
Right?
Not even missing one day. That's very important.
Right. Exactly. So, and one of the interesting habit that students who are watching here from various schools can pick up is to just take the example you quoted, read 5 pages a day. It
Correct.
would be a phenomenal game changer in their life.
Correct.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I'll move to the last question, the specific question to you. You had so many failures. I know personally how you had so many failures in the multiple business venture. You were in a very comfortable job. You were a boss of a large
Correct.
region for a very good company, and you had a large team under you. They were celebrating you as a very good boss. You were definitely earning a very good salary as well. But from that point, you went to see a lot of failures in multiple businesses. One miller, you were saying about 25. Yeah, right. And then you stayed on the course, and today you have 1.4 million followers who have subscribed to what you are doing in your YouTube channel, right? So, how did you build this up, Param? It's a phenomenal journey of stamina and many other things, right? Now, tell us about it.
Okay, anything which we are going to drive. For example, you start something. There are only two things that can happen, right? One is two things you will have in mind. One is fear of loss, and the other is desire for gain. Correct.
Right.
Fear of losses, you will definitely lose that fear of failure, or you are afraid of failure. One side it will be there, and at the same time there will be desire for gain, to achieve something in life. That will be a longing moment for anybody who's starting business. Even for if you take the school students who are topping the class continuously, and in their colleges whoever is topping, out of 100, only 2 becomes an entrepreneur. You would have heard about this, right? Only 2 out of the toppers becomes entrepreneur. But the backbenchers who have not seen the success so much, they become entrepreneurs easily, because they can take those failures easily. So this fear of loss or desire for gain. So when something happens in your life, if your desire for gain is dominant over the fear of loss, I think it will keep you going. If something happens that's done, but you will try different thing because you still have the desire to gain that whatever you desire in life, right? So that has to be dominant than the fear of loss. Then I think it will
Right.
keep you going on.
Right.
Second is
Right.
as an individual also, also, if you are not bothered about how people are going to see you,
Right.
that will make more sense, because it is to you are trying to prove, not to
Yes.
anybody else. So something
Yes.
happens, it is your own benchmark where you have failed. So you're setting a new benchmark or setting a new playground for yourself, right? So you're
Right.
going to play there. So it is for you, you're playing in life. Because even one author said, you got only 10,000 days to live.
Right.
Actively, you and me, anybody
Right.
above 40s, have only 10,000 days to live. One day
Yeah.
today is gone. It is only 999 days which you have got to live. So
Right.
it is humbug to be bothered about what society or other people will think of our failures. Instead, we have to focus on our own desire for gain. That's the
Right.
true mantra.
Right. So the desire to
Yeah,
gain,
gain,
yeah,
yes.
than the failure.
Yes.
So just keep on waiting to get to that point.
Correct.
How many ever failures you have, you will be able to jump over it.
Correct.
And
Correct.
that's life, right? Life
That's
is
life.
not about success.
Correct. And
It's about going
any
through.
consequence that's happening, you have to make choices, good or
Yes.
bad. For example,
Yes.
you want to
Yes.
get first rank in some subject. Yeah, the consequences on your monthly test, you got only 30 marks, but that's a consequence, right? But you have to
Right.
make a choice. You have to make a
Right.
choice saying, I can read better or I can quit this, right? If you make
Right.
a choice, I can read better, there are only 4 outcomes. You can get
Right.
more, you can get less, you can get equal, or you will not attend, right? There are only
Right.
out of the choices you make, there are only 4 consequences. And
Right.
whatever
Right.
consequences happen, again, you're going to make choice.
Make it.
Even you get 98 in your life, you're going to make
Yeah.
a choice saying, I'll get 100, right? There is no,
Right.
you have to keep making choices. That's life,
Right.
right? No.
Right. Right. So good, Param, and your insights. Very short set of points to think about and practice in our lives. I'm sure the students would have heard you, and they would have taken their bits that they can follow in their life as well. And also that life is not just about succeeding all the time. It's also about going through that failure,
Correct.
preparing yourself to be a better person and moving forward. Right. So from this short conversation with Param on how to touch success, overcoming many failures, I'm going to the next person whom I always look up to, though he is my dear friend, for his constant learning. He is someone who has never stopped learning. Every time I call him, even he tells me something new. Even day before yesterday, there was a long call between me and him, and he was telling me many new things, right? And that's only possible with constant learning. And I always look up
Absolutely.
to Manoj for his constant learning. Manoj, would you just share about your life and how your interest to this learning got built up over the years? Over to you.
Sure, Harris. Before I start, I want to thank Param. Even to me, at this stage in life, even though I'm very young, the motivation from Param's points, atomic habits, and never give up. Right, these two are very, very important in life, and I really want to thank Param for that.
Thank you, Manoj.
Starting with my background, I come from a very small town in Tamil Nadu, but I had a really fun-filled school years. Had amazing teachers in school, so it was until I completed my 12th grade. It was all about playing and learning. That's all I had. But after I completed my 12th grade, moved on to my engineering school, PhD Tech in Coimbatore. It's a great school, but couple of months into my engineering school, I knew that engineering was not for me. It was a big blow for me. I always thought, if you study well, you get into a nice college, you'll continue on to learn well, and then you get a nice job, and then you settle down. But 2 months into your engineering school, knowing that, okay, this is not what you are looking for, was a big blow for me. But what I did was from there on, I started exploring what else I can do in life. Until that point, I never had that kind of thought process. I was always about like playing and just studying whatever comes your way, right? But PG Tech opened up my mind. Not just engineering, I started learning about a lot of other stuff. I kept on learning, but after I completed my engineering, moved on to work for a software engineering firm. It was pretty promising. You get good money. What else you need in life, right? But that's not it. Even after that, I felt like, okay, there is something else I want to do, not this. But I did not quit. Kept working, but always kept my mind open to learn anything and everything comes my way. So after a few years, I was so into entrepreneurship, like Param. So I decided to do my MBA, and obviously for business, United States is a good place because a lot of great companies have started from here. So when you learn from the place where multiple companies originate, my thought process at that time was, okay, you will learn well. So that's why I moved here. It was phenomenal studying MBA here in the United States. But keeping aside my story here, I want to plant one single thought in students' mind today. Stay curious. Always stay curious, because there is a lot of difference between what you learned in school 10 or 15 years back and what you're learning today. Because when we were in school, it's all about your textbook, right? You study your textbook, you move on to the next level, and then you get a job, you just go work. But today it's very important. Learning does not happen just in the classroom. Google was not there when we were in school, right? There were no online teaching platforms available. Today, I can tell you, there are thousands of new jobs created in different industries that were not there even when I was in engineering school. I've never thought of a YouTuber, and today Param is a YouTuber, right? So learning happens in multiple ways. All I want you to do is stay curious, keep your mind open to learn anything and everything, okay? I want to talk about 4 different types of learning today. Number 1, as usual, textbook and school. Wherever you are, you will learn a lot from your teachers, right? Teachers are a great source of learning. Learn as much as possible from them, okay? Number 2 is learn from people around you. Just be curious. Ask, what are they doing? How are they doing? What industry they are in? You can learn a lot from people around you, okay? Specifically, the concept of mentors. I want to talk about it a little bit more because when I was in school, mentoring was not a big thing. At least I did not know about mentoring, and most of my classmates did not know about mentoring at all. But mentoring is an amazing way. You find people who are knowledgeable in specific areas. Keep in touch with them. Talk to them. Be curious. Ask questions. Learn from them. That will help you a lot, okay? Number 3 is reading books. I was never fond of reading books until I finished my engineering school. All I cared about was my textbook. If I study well, I can score well. I want to be topper of the class. That's all I cared about. But after my engineering school, I got this habit of reading lots of books. And the reason for that is when you read a book, first of all, let me take a step back. To write a book, it needs a lot of experience. I have to spend years and years to write a good book. When you read that book, within that, I don't know, if you take 10 hours to read a book, in that 10 hours of reading that book, you can find out all of my experience, the 10 years of time and experience that I have put to write that book, right? So as long as you read more and more and more books, you are getting all others' experience in a much short period of time. So that's an amazing way to learn. The fourth one is there is a concept in some of the Western countries called internship. It's basically going and working for somebody. Find opportunities to work for small companies. It could be a dental office. It could be a doctor's office. It could be a YouTuber's office, right? There are multiple ways. Just spend months, couple of months, just go work for others, learn from others. You will learn a lot than just sitting inside classroom. Okay. The reason why I ask you to keep your mind open and learn from all of these different sources is you won't know what you want to do the moment you finish your school or the moment you finish your college, right? Life is a continuous learning mission. It's not few years of learning and then just keeping aside everything. It's not a sprint race. It's a marathon. It's a long race. You gotta keep learning. Okay? I want to leave you all with one thought. Luck favors curious and hardworking people.
So thank you, Manoj. So we have heard luck brave, favors the brave, but you today told us, it also favors hardworking people and the one who is curious. Would you just tell me in about 2 minutes what do you really expect the students to do when you want them to be curious? Is it about reading a lot about the topics or subjects that they are interested on, or a hobby or a passion that they are following? They need to stay active in terms of learning new things about it. What do you expect students to do when you ask them to be curious?
When I say curious, keep your mind open, right? Don't shut it off. Like I said, don't just get set with textbook. I'm in my 12th grade. I just study physics. No, go out, go to library, get some books, right? Read about, if you're interested in physics, read about physics. If you're interested in social media, read about social media, right? Just don't close your mind. Try to explore multiple areas. You won't know where your mind is until you go in depth, right? So always be open to new ideas, new things. Don't just get set with your textbook.
So it is also this that, as you say today, if you don't read extra, you don't stay curious after your education, which is your school and college. Life isn't easy, right? If you don't stay curious, you become very irrelevant with technology sort of changing our lives on a daily basis today, these days. If you don't stay curious, you will also become irrelevant, right? You're not going to be very comfortable in your job as well, right? There's also that problem, right?
Yeah, totally. Like I said, if you go back like 10, 15 years, there were a lot of jobs that you thought or the whole society thought are very stable, right? Like even today, if you leave the government jobs, none of the job is stable. None of these jobs has a guarantee that it will exist 5 years from now or 10 years from now, right? World is changing so fast. Like you said, Harris, there are technologies coming in that can replace a whole set of jobs in a matter of 3 to 5 years. I can take an example. So analyst job. Analyst is a commonly used phrase, but let's say data analyst job, right? There are machines learning so fast, picking up so fast. In a matter of few years, those jobs can be easily replaced by machines, right? What happens when businesses choose machines over human, right? Because we can only work so fast at a pace where machines are growing today. They can pick up any job and replace the whole system unless you are not curious, if you are not learning about other things, if you're not understanding other industries, other contexts, you are replaced. I don't want to sound bad. It's not that bad. But again, staying curious and learning new stuff will always keep you apart from others.
Right. It's not a very casual matter. It's a very serious matter that if you don't learn new things, even after passing out of your school and college, if you don't stay curious, it's not life easy. Life is not going to be easy with things turning around every now and then. We never had Amazon or Ola or Uber in India, say 10 years back. Today, they're just ruling the entire market. The country is using them extensively as well. And a lot of new jobs have come. Some jobs have gone out because of them. So if you did not stay updated, you wouldn't really have a good life. Another curious point, and with that we will have to end because we're just close to the closing time, which is your company says edify.ai. AI, I was just listening some time back. Google CEO Sundar Pichai was saying that from now on, everything that we're going to do in Google is going to be based out of AI, artificial intelligence, right? Would you just, in simple terms, tell us what it is? Because you're already working on that.
In a very simple term or an example, right? Like AI, artificial intelligence. So human mind is capable of handling to some level of unknowns, right? Like if you have like 10 different unknowns and if you have some time, you can think about all of those and you can make decision, right? Whereas artificial intelligence, it's basically the improvements in the processing power of our computers, right? So that's all it is. And then probably some of us might remember the floppy disk that we used to carry. It was like 1.4 MB file storage, and today for the same size, you have like terabytes of data you can carry. Like that, the processing power of computers have increased. Okay, so like I said, human mind can only process certain amount of unknowns at a time to make decision. But computers today have so much processing power, you can feed thousands and thousands of unknowns to them and ask them to make the best decision possible, right? And I again, I don't want to sound bad. It's not a bad thing, right? So for example, an artificial heart that human has, at any second, there are 40,000 unknowns it has to process and make decision. It has to pump blood in such a way that at any point of time, it uses 40,000 different variables to make the decision, right? That human mind cannot do. That's what AI is doing. When you do a Google search, right, it understands who you are and it understands what context you are asking the question, and it provides you all the list of good answers that will help you make decision. That's an AI.
Right, so it's simply computers getting faster and being able to do much better things. even to an extent that it can get better than human being, right? Thank you.
Sure, Harris.
Thank you. So thank you so very much, Manoj, for sharing with us your insights about how constant learning is important in life and how it helped you stay on course. You're doing really well. You're young and you are already a CEO of a company in the US. Like many other CEOs who have gone from India, taking on large companies, we wish that you would succeed as well. And Param and Manoj, thank you very much. I'm afraid we don't have time for more questions, but you both really covered failure and constant learning as stepping stone to success in a very, very interesting, simple way. Thank you so very much. And we are so excited that we could listen to you today. Thank you once again. And to all the participant schools here, students here, and friends, thank you very much for joining us. We will come back to you soon. Have a good evening. Thank you all.
Thanks, Aris. Thank you, Aris, for the opportunity. And I also take this opportunity to thank Manoj. Thanks, Manoj. Wishing you most and more.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. And as we end this session,
well.
if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please don't forget to subscribe. Everyone, and also those who are viewing this session, please do subscribe. We're going to have a lot more webinars coming in this season as well, season 2. Thank you and have a good evening. Thank you.
Thanks all.